All right. Welcome back to the Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Market Pulse. I believe this is our 16th edition here. So we've been going strong for about a year and a half on the Market Pulse. And we have another wonderful guest here for you today. But look, I'm excited to kick this session off. Our goal here on this show is pretty simple. We're trying to cut through the noise and give you actionable intelligence on what's really happening in the commercial real estate space, especially here in our market in Kansas City. Today, we're going to be really talking about artificial intelligence and how it's shaping the commercial real estate landscape, which I'm super stoked about because we have none other than Topher Stephenson with us today. And this topic is not something that's just trending. I believe that it truly is transformational. Look, I posted this morning on LinkedIn that the internet has disrupted how we connect and how we do life. And AI is about is about to disrupt how we are closing and finding new business. And I truly believe that every few decades, there's a technological leap that redefines the playing field, right? First, the internet changed the way that we list, search, and communicate in commercial real estate. Then came data analytics, helping us make smarter investment decisions. And now AI is here and it's reshaping how brokers, investors, and operators work in our industry every single day. So whether you're looking to prospect smarter, market faster, or close bigger deals, this should be the conversation that you've been waiting for. Now, I've listened to Topher on only one podcast out there. I believe he's only done, or at least that I could find on Spotify.
There's a couple kicking around, but some of them pop up in the search results better than others.
All right. Well, I listened to one great episode with you and a few women in the commercial real estate industry, and that was really enlightening. But I think This might be one of the first live kind of presentations that you have done. So joining me today is Topher. He's a true thought leader at the intersection of artificial intelligence and commercial real estate. And I truly believe that you have been one of the folks leading the charge on how AI tools can supercharge everything from deal sourcing all the way to client engagement. And today, Topher is here to share real insights, real tools, and real impact. So Topher, thanks first and foremost for being here today. And since I know your background, but maybe not everybody listening in does, I'd love to ask before we get into kind of AI, can you take us back to your origin story, right? Like, how did you first get involved in commercial real estate? And then what eventually pulled you into the AI space? And again, I've heard this and I found it fascinating. So I hope you'll be able to share it with all the audience today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. And first of all, thanks very much for having me. And thank you for the kind intro. That was so many kind words in one go. I don't even know what to say. So thank you very much.
Hey, you're welcome.
You're very generous. Yeah, I mean, as far as me getting into commercial real estate, I graduated from Penn State with kind of a digital marketing background. Moved up to Maine and I was working for a digital marketing startup. And, startups are fun, but they don't always make a ton of money. And so, I just kind of had my ear to the ground looking for other opportunities. And I answered a Craigslist ad that was looking for a real estate marketing analyst. And I definitely didn't know what that was. I don't think the employer knew what that was. I think they just had someone to kind of refresh their Craigslist ads. But anyway, I met with them and we both kind of liked each other. And so hopped aboard that company. And essentially, we just owned distressed commercial real estate properties throughout the country.
Okay.
And so we work with brokers like yourself, essentially as our boots on the ground to, meet the local contacts and get deals done. But they just really felt, there was a lot of room to run with running more of our own digital marketing, just kind of in-house and doing everything we could to leverage technology and get our properties in front of the right people. So that was kind of my intro into commercial real estate. It was kind of a cool introduction because, our properties were just all shapes and sizes. It could be a 1,200 square foot, retail post in Farmington, Connecticut, or it could be a 50,000 square foot warehouse in Tucson, Arizona. And my job was figure out hey, who'd actually want to use or buy this thing, and how, what we do to advertise to them and get the property in front of them, and then, hopefully sell it and move on to the next one a little bit wiser. And so, it was a really cool introduction just into, leasing and selling properties. What do people
Sure.
want, in all these different asset classes, but also just kind of looking at it from a technological standpoint, coming from the digital marketing background where everyone's using technology for everything, and pivot to commercial real estate over 10 years ago. People weren't really using technology for much, so it was
Yeah.
just eye opening. And we were able to find a lot of kind of quick wins, just by leveraging not even necessarily cutting edge best practices, but just kind of like standard digital marketing best practices. So that kind of really got the wheels turning. And, eventually 7 years in, doing that gig, we sold and leased a bunch of our properties, and went very well. But I got tapped to run a commercial real estate brokerage working under the president of the Bowles Company. It's the largest commercial real estate brokerage in northern New England,
Okay.
50 people across 3 different offices. And, it's kind of a big shift for me, because it was going from, marketing specifically properties and assets to, leading high level marketing direction for a brand, trying to recruit brokers, recruit associates, get all of our properties out in front of people, but also the day-to-day operations of the company. And so worked with them for about 4 or 5 years. I think we went from a team of 25 people to a team of 50 people. And then met a guy named Brandon Avedikian on Twitter, just kind of leveraging social media. And we really kind of hit it off. We were excited about all the same things, social
Yeah.
media and technology and marketing, and just decided that we should start working together. So over the last 7 months or so, I've been running operations for Aspire commercial real estate brokerage out of Houston, Texas. And so, at this point, I've kind of worn a lot of hats in commercial real estate. Kind of went from property marketing to, in-house leasing and deal making to, essentially brokerage management and operations. But a key piece of my role, throughout my career has just been staying ahead of the curve with commercial real estate technology and trying to solve everyday commercial real estate problems using technology. And as of 2 years ago, that is all about learning to leverage AI and solving problems with it. So obviously, as you've seen, I spent a lot of time doing that. I put together a lot of content about it and kind of trying to show other people what we're doing and what they might be able to do. And so I've spent a lot of time talking at conferences around the country on the topic, doing live presentations, typically private. I think this is my first public live presentation,
Awesome.
which I'm super excited for. And thank you for having me, and just kind of doing everything I can to help raise the tide.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, that's a great background into how you got into the industry. I want to say that has Brandon been on some podcasts by chance, talking about
Yes.
his? Did he recently relocate from Houston? He's not from Houston, is that correct?
He started out in Dallas,
Okay.
and then
Yes. Yes.
he
And then he was an
moved
office
to Houston.
broker, right?
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Okay, so I definitely 6, 7 months ago listened to a couple of his podcast episodes talking about his thought process around growing a brand on Twitter. So I'm
Yeah.
just now putting two and two together here, and wow, what a powerhouse team! That's so cool. Well, definitely, I now understand why you've been so busy growing Aspire Commercial. Very very interesting. Okay,
Absolutely.
so was there an aha moment when you realized that AI could completely change the way that commercial real estate professionals operate?
I mean, I think the aha moment in general was, probably same aha moment that everybody else had. ChatGPT came out, and I saw it and showed it to a couple people on my team, and I think we all just kind of felt like our brain was melting, and it was like, wow, this is going to change things. But that wasn't necessarily specific to commercial real estate. That aha moment was just, this is going to change everything, for everybody. And, I
Sure.
think where the aha moment for commercial real estate comes in was I was always posting content on Twitter, sometimes on LinkedIn, about commercial real estate marketing, commercial real estate operations, commercial real estate technology. And some things hit, some things don't. But all of a sudden, I'd start posting about AI because I was using AI every day, and these things were just taking off. And so it kind of hit me that, wow, commercial real estate people are excited about this.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always happen with technology, as you know. So the more I started doing it, the more I started hitting, the more it just started to feel like we have a chance. We have a chance this time. We don't have to get left behind as an industry. And so I kind of just jumped on it and kept going. So I'd say that was kind of the big moment, just realizing that people aren't necessarily just looking at this and feeling scared. People aren't necessarily just looking at this and feeling like, oh, this is a passing fad. I don't have to worry about this. People are active. People in the commercial real estate industry are trying to get more information on it. They're trying to figure out, how do you actually apply these tools to what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis? And so that's essentially what I'm framing everything around, is just, how can I help people do that?
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job through your website, chatcrenews.com, social media at Topher now, and soon CREAIPro.com. And one of my favorite newsletters, I believe, Chat CRE on Substack as well. So make sure to go follow him on all those social medias. You can see those here on the screen here. And I follow him on LinkedIn. That's usually, if you look at my saved items on my LinkedIn, Topher Stephenson's are saved. Not only posting good things around AI, but one of your posts that I found to be fascinating the other day was how you go about prioritization and organization. And as I am leading brokers on a regular basis and trying to stay organized myself, I thought, that was a really well written post around how you think about that in organization as well. One thing I continue to think about a lot is, the mindset shift from going from kind of traditional commercial real estate to what we'll call a tech enabled strategy, right? And I think that folks are concerned that AI is going to replace a lot of jobs and a lot of different service industries potentially. While they may happen, when I think about specifically commercial real estate, it's making our jobs and our people more efficient and effective if utilized correctly. However, there's a sea of noise in this industry right now. And I swear I think I was a pretty early adopter on ChatGPT. I think I've been going at it for 2 years now or so. So been pretty familiarized with that platform. But I mean, every other week it's got a new update and something else is happening or added to it. And it's really difficult to kind of stay on the top of the funnel and understanding what's going on there. But what do you think the industry looks like in, let's say 5 to 10 years with all of these different tools that we have at our disposal? Is it going to wipe out some commercial real estate brokers and agents, or the folks that, adopt these types of technologies? Are they just going to be, 10 feet ahead or 10 feet above the rest of the crowd?
That's a big question, Logan. That's a big one. Yeah. As far as 5 to 10 years from now goes, honestly, it's hard to give you a straight answer. I think if anybody claims that they know what things are going to look like 5 to 10 years from now, they're just lying to you. Because the tough part is, it is changing so fast. It is just changing rapidly fast. It's amazing. Even if we'll get into some of this stuff, but if you think about, I'm sure you've seen things about the latest ChatGPT image update.
Yes.
It's astounding what that can do now. And some people look at that and they say, oh, it's still not that good. If you're saying that, I don't think you've been paying attention to what it could do a year ago, because even 6 days ago, it couldn't do anything close to what it's capable of doing now. It's something I've been following very closely. And so again, just imagine what it's going to be able to do 6 months, 1 year from now. It's just going to be absolutely incredible. So on the question of, hey, is everyone going to get wiped out? Are some people going to get wiped out? On a long enough timeline, and it's hard to know how long that timeline is. The fact is, we just don't even know what the economy is going to look like. It's probably going to dramatically change and wipe out some things, but I think it's going to add things to the economy, both in commercial real estate and in other industries that we just don't even understand yet.
Yeah.
We just haven't even thought about, or we're not capable of until we kind of see how it progresses. But, I think no matter what, in the long term and in the short term, the difference is going to be the people that put some time in to figure out how to use it and the people who don't. And the people who don't, it's not necessarily that they're going to be wiped away, but they are going to be at a disadvantage. If you are capable of finding some tools, it doesn't have to be ChatGPT. Some people try ChatGPT and they just say, I just can't do anything that I want it to do.
Yeah.
That's okay. There's hundreds, there's thousands of other tools. There's new ones coming out every single day. So it's just a matter of tasting them.
Yeah.
Just trying them out, finding some that you think can actually help you execute specific tasks in your business and figuring out how to put them to work. And so, you don't necessarily have to do all the trial and error yourself. That's part of the reason I spend so much time on it, so that people can follow me, and on a daily/weekly basis, they can get some tips on how to use it through Twitter or on LinkedIn. On a monthly basis, they can get a deep dive into a handful of things on my newsletter. Eventually, CRE AI Pro, there will be some additional ways to kind of get even deeper insights on how to use a bunch of these tools that are coming out. But it's just a matter of seeing what's out there, seeing how you can get it to work for you, and then putting it to work. And then once you do that, there's different levels that you can get to. Eventually, you can customize it to work for you so that it takes even less work to use it. You just get to the tool and it knows exactly what you want it to do. You drop in whatever document you're working on, it just takes it, it executes the task, and it's done. You take it and you move on. And then if you're capable of customizing these tools to work for you, you'll probably eventually be able to automate these tools to work for you. So everyone loves to throw around the term AI agents. I think a lot of people talking about AI agents don't necessarily know what they mean, but essentially it's automating a lot of these workflows so that you don't necessarily even have to open up ChatGPT and do something. You've already built something out so that when this thing happens over here, ChatGPT or whatever you're using fires up over here. It pops out some information over here. It emails it to you over here. It puts that information here, here, and here so that it's available to move on to the next task. And so that's a long explanation, but I think long-term, things are definitely going to change. Nobody necessarily knows how yet, and that is a little scary. But if you want to stay ahead of the curve, you just need to learn what tools are out there, which ones can be helpful to you, and start putting them to work. And then at the very least, you're doing the best you can.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into some of the most exciting real world applications of AI that you're seeing right now in the brokerage community. So we're going to go ahead and step down from our video, and I'll let you just go ahead and share your screen for the time being. That
Awesome. First time doing it with this platform, so I just want to make sure I'm getting the right screen. All right. Logan, can you see this? Logan.
Yeah, we're not seeing it quite yet.
Topher. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Let's see here. So stop screen. Click present. Go to share screen. I'm going to pick my entire screen, and here we go. Can you see it now?
Yes, we have.
There we go.
Got it. We're all set up, Topher.
Perfect. So let's see here. As you can see, I've got a bunch of tabs open, a bunch of things that I could show you folks. But is there any particular place you were hoping to start? Any kind of itch that you've been trying to scratch as it pertains?
I think that if you were to say, hey, you're bringing on new, brokers and agents at Aspire, it's like, how do I think about going and starting utilizing some of these tools? Like, where do I start? Is it in my marketing? Is it in my email? Because now, Google Gemini is already in my email. So am I using that? Like, let's start with how you're thinking about training the new agents that you're bringing on and how you guys are utilizing it. Obviously, I have specific questions around prospecting and marketing and things that we can get into, but maybe like just a ground level. Hey, here's a good base and foundation that you should start with.
Yeah, no. So I mean, that's that's a fantastic way to start, and kind of I think the way to think about how we're using it at Aspire. Again, I'm 7 months in, and we've been working on a lot of things behind the scenes. AI is a component of it, but obviously operations spans a lot more than just leveraging AI tools. But a lot of how we're using AI at Aspire is honestly it's kind of boring stuff, because part of the reason we're using it for the boring stuff is we want AI to do some of that work so that we don't have to do the boring stuff and our agents can be doing a lot of the exciting stuff. So marketing probably is a good place to start, because we are leveraging AI for a lot of different types of marketing. I think Perplexity will probably be a good place to jump in right before we do marketing. But yeah, as far as things that we're doing with Aspire, I can rattle off some additional topics that we're kind of going through right now. But right now we're working with a really fantastic consultant to essentially take inbound leads that are coming in. I'm sure you deal with this all day. You got leads coming in from LoopNet, Crexy, sign calls all over the place. And there's a disconnect between that happening and getting things into our CRM. So we're working on an AI automation to automatically beam that information directly into our CRM. So
Nice.
just to kind of set the table, that's a lot of what we're focused on now, is how do we leverage AI to kind of make people's lives easier? And so
Okay.
it's not always necessarily the most exciting things. It's just, hey, that's one less thing that you as an agent is going to have to do so that you can be out there wheeling and dealing and actually, putting deals together. But that said, there are a variety, obviously there's multitudes of ways that you personally can leverage AI as an agent, that a team can leverage AI, as a group, or that a company can leverage AI, whether or not it's kind of out there amongst everybody in the company, or if it's kind of the boring things going on behind the scenes. But I guess to get started, it probably makes sense to jump in with Perplexity. Have you personally used Perplexity before?
I have not. No, I have been just on ChatGPT trying to learn that platform and just have not really gotten off of it whatsoever. So I've just really stayed on ChatGPT to become as fluent as I possibly can.
Gotcha. So I guess that's an answer that I get from a lot of people, and I don't take this offensively at all, but it still kind of amazes me that so many people say they haven't tried Perplexity yet. I'll give these presentations in front of 100 to 200 people, and I'll say, hey, who out there has tried Perplexity? And I'll maybe get 2 to 3 people who raise their hands throughout the entire audience.
Wow.
And honestly, the only reason it's surprising is because it is such a powerful tool. It's basically AI specifically built for searching the internet and retrieving
Okay.
information. And that might sound kind of boring, but just to give you an example, I'll show you how it works. And I think we're going to dive into doing some marketing here shortly. So, if we imagine we are marketing an investment property in Portland, Maine, that's where I live. Maybe you're up here and you're a generalist broker, you don't do all that many investment properties. And so you got to get in the loop on this particular asset class quickly. Perplexity is an absolutely fantastic tool for doing that. And I'll show you why right now. So I'm essentially telling it, please search for market reports on Portland, Maine's multifamily market and tell me everything that I need to know about the market, including vacancy rates, cap rates, what buildings sell for, recent transactions, if you can find them. And just as a caveat, this happens all the time with AI tools, but I said, we're talking about Portland, Maine, not Portland, Oregon, because it can get confused.
Sure.
And so, sorry, I made one accident here. I hit the deep research button and I did not mean to. We'll get to deep research in a second. But so I'm just going to do a regular Perplexity internet search. And so what this is going to do is kind of incredible. It is going to essentially scrape the internet. It is going to scrape different relevant news articles, different market reports. And, what's fascinating is you can actually see all the sources that it's looking through as it's going through and it's scraping together this information. and it's going to put together a very robust, essentially market summary for you so that you can get in the loop on this market research extremely quickly. And so look at everything that we have here. We have, the rental vacancy rates, we have the general cap rates, which for better or worse, that does sound about right for Portland, Maine. We have the rent trends. We have a couple of recent transactions. An old colleague of mine actually did this one. Shout out to John Finnegan. That was a great deal. And we have a bunch of market dynamics and in the investment outlook. And so, that's fantastic. Obviously, this is amazing. You wouldn't have been able to do anything like this, 2 years ago.
Right.
But it'll take this a step further. It'll give you all the sources where it's getting all of this information. Actually, this one is from my old firm, the Bolus Company. Shout out to the Bolus Company. And so, depending on what information you look at, you just don't necessarily have to worry about Perplexity making something up the way that ChatGPT might, because, it is still an AI tool. It's still an LLM. It could make something up, but you can click in to each of these individual sources and verify the information. And so it's just a very fantastic way to do market research extremely quickly.
Now,
And
Topher, let me ask you a question on this, because
sure, go ahead.
that was one reason I was interested in looking at Perplexity, because I often find that ChatGPT does have answers that are incorrect, and or they have, they need to be fact checked on a regular basis. But I think in a recent update, I do have now in ChatGPT the ability to hit deep research, and I've seen it do something similar where it's searching different news articles here recently and then sending me the sources. So are they just trying to compete with Perplexity, or have you been familiarized with that new update that they have made? Because I feel like they're having updates in ChatGPT on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the short answer is we're definitely in the age of the AI wars.
Yeah.
Everything that comes out that seems to be a pretty, fantastic tool that's working really, really well, ChatGPT does try to replicate. The reason I like Perplexity, and again, it goes back to the fact that there's so many different tools. Perplexity is purpose built for searching the internet. It's
Okay.
not necessarily trying to be your essay writing tool. It's not necessarily trying to be an AI data analysis tool. It is a tool built for searching the internet and referencing information. And so obviously it's going really, really well. So, Google has started to actually roll out its own AI generated search results. Sorry, I just went to the wrong slide. And ChatGPT obviously is trying to get into the race as well, and so they've included their own AI generated search results.
Yeah, I've
And
definitely
honestly,
seen that.
it works pretty well if you only want to use ChatGPT. It's pretty good, but they're still catching up. It's just not what it's
Sure.
built for. You might click into some of the links and it just goes to a dead link, and so it's like, okay, did it actually get that information and the link didn't work? Or did they just make up that information and there
Sure.
never was a link? With Perplexity, is just what it's built for, and it does it really, really well.
Got it. So you can trust the research on Perplexity a little bit better than maybe some of the other platforms. We do have a question here. I'm going to put it up on the screen for you here, Topher. How would you compare Perplexity and Manus? I'm not familiar with that with regard to research. I'm not sure.
Wow, you guys are bringing out the deep cuts already, man.
Yeah. We got some good listeners here.
So where to start? I guess from the top down, Perplexity, you can use it for free, which is nice. I personally just got access to Manus, and I already blew through my free credits. And so just a little background, Manus, it's like invite only right now. They give everyone maybe 4,000 credits. I tried to do two things and I blew through those 4,000 credits. So just from a starting point, Perplexity is free. Manus, I would say, is more on the scale of deep research, which we'll talk about in a second here. It's probably going to go through a lot more information, but it is a much more expensive tool, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. We'll let you continue.
Yeah.
Keep asking questions. If you're listening here on LinkedIn or watching live on YouTube or on LinkedIn, please continue to bring your questions.
Yeah, of course. And I can already sense we're going to run out of time before I can go through everything. So I'll try to speed things up a little bit. But so
that's okay. We don't need to rush. We can always have you back on. I'd rather go, more in depth on a few than super broad. And leave people with cliffhangers and just still trying to figure out how to utilize something.
Yeah, of course. I'd love to do that. But essentially, the point I want to make with Perplexity is it's not just for doing market research. When I recently gave a presentation at a hotel in San Diego, and so I put together this demonstration on just trying to figure out, hey, who actually owns this hotel? And so same thing, it can scrape through a bunch of different news articles, a bunch of market reports. Once you find out who owns a property, you can try to figure out what other kinds of things that they're doing in the area. So, obviously, commercial real estate spans a lot of different sectors, and a lot of people are doing a lot of different things. You got tenant reps, you have investment sales, you have people that aren't even brokers. There's all different kinds of roles in commercial real estate and different sorts of research needs. And Perplexity is just a really fantastic tool for accessing a lot of information really quickly, whether you're trying to vet a tenant, whether you're trying to, search for property ownership information. It won't always have that, but if something is publicly printed in the news somewhere, there's a good chance that Perplexity is going to be able to help you access it very quickly. So one other thing that you can do with Perplexity, and this is, I think, what you were hinting at and what the Manus question was kind of hinting at, is the concept of deep research. And deep research, essentially, the way that I'd think about it is this. Perplexity, again, it's a tool built for searching the internet. It's not necessarily going to search everything. AI tools are kind of inherently lazy. They're going to go into, they think they've found you the appropriate information, and then they're going to kind of stop. Deep research essentially was a feature that was built originally on Google Gemini. Again, we're kind of in the age of the AI wars. So you can use it on Google Gemini. You can use it a couple times a month on ChatGPT. You can use it on Perplexity. You can actually use it on Grok now. It's just kind of everywhere. But you can get very, very specific with what kinds of information you want Perplexity to parse through. And then it's going to go much, much deeper than just a general internet search. And so just for an example of, how you might be able to use it to search for opportunities, I'm telling it, and I'm getting pretty specific with this one. But again, the whole point of deep research is you can get very specific with the kinds of information that you want it to sort through and retrieve for you. So I'm telling it, we're selling an 11-unit investment property located at 341 4th Street in Portland, Maine. It's a 9, I misspelled a little bit, but it's a 9 rented apartment buildings, 2 ground floor retail units in the heart of the Old Port. Please search every news article published in Maine news publications in the last year that mention any person or company who's purchased a similar multifamily building in the past year. Please provide your research in the form of a list, yada, yada, yada. And so, unfortunately, this takes a while because this is going to go through sources and sources and sources and sources. So it might not even be finished by the time we're finished this LinkedIn Live.
Sure.
And so I'll pick up, I'll just show you another kind of fast forwarded demo so that you can kind of see how it works in real time. But essentially what this is going to do, in this particular example, I'm saying, hey, I want to look for local retailers where the news article is somehow mentioned that retailer is expanding. And so again, it's scouring through sources and sources and sources and sources. It's essentially going through everything that it can find in the last 6 months in news articles that were published specifically in Southern California, because that's where I was given this particular presentation. And so as you can see, it's put together a list of all these different retailers that have somehow indicated in the news that they're expanding, And if you want to get even more specific, you could say, I want to find retailers that have indicated they're on a hiring spree, or retailers that have somehow mentioned new acquisitions or new investments. And so the reason I love deep research is it kind of takes these market research tools a step further from being market research tools. They kind of switch over to be opportunity hunting tools. I think every good broker has some sort of sauce for that. They're reading the news, they're flipping through articles, and all of a sudden their radar just goes off.
Yep.
sensed an opportunity. There's something in that news article that is telling them that they can make some money somehow. You can enumerate what that is. You can give it to Perplexity. You can tell it to search for it, and you can have a list of those opportunities, and you can have it in minutes. So it's just a pretty incredible development. And so if you have access to any major AI tool, Perplexity, Grok, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, I would definitely recommend that you go give it a try. And so as
Yeah,
you can see, this one's still working through it, but maybe we can
yeah.
cycle back to
I'm
this
just sitting here taking notes upon notes, thinking about how I can use deep research for any of the assignments and listings and deals that we're working on. Right. I've got 7 or 8 different applications to go test out and view. So my wheels are spinning over here.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep them spinning. So I know we were kind of talking about, the whole idea of just marketing, commercial real estate marketing. What are some different sorts of things that you can do? And I love trying to leverage AI for different types of marketing because here, I'm going to take this off just because I don't want to distract while we're trying to chat. But I love using AI for different kinds of marketing just because if you're in commercial real estate, you're doing some sort of marketing.
Yeah.
There's going to be some sort of opportunity for you to use AI for marketing. And so that just makes it a really good introduction because there's a lot of different things that AI can do on the marketing front. And again, it's just a part of everybody's life. So no matter what, if you're in commercial real estate, there's probably something that you can start leveraging AI for to execute specific marketing tasks. And so where I thought I'd start is AI video. And this is, I think, potentially a transformational use of AI for doing different kinds of marketing. So this is a tool that I always like to bring up in my presentations. This tool is called Relay. And sorry, it's not Relay. This is Runway. It's called Runway ML. And part of the reason I love to bring it up is you can get a free trial. So you could sign up for it right now while we're on this call and try it out. And B, it's extremely easy to use. Typically, when I'm doing presentations live in front of people, I don't necessarily even show people how to use it. I just tell them how to use it, and people whip out their phone and do it while we're in the presentation. So it's just pretty incredible. But essentially, what you can do with Runway ML is, obviously, this is just some videos that were created with Runway ML, but I'm going to pop up, let's see here. I'm just going to go through and find a good example. I'm going to go to 341 4th Street, the property we were marketing. I'm going to drag in an image of this property, 341 4th Street. It's the same one that we were just doing some market research for. And I'm uploading the image, and I'm just going to tell Runway, please create a drone style video orbiting the, let's see, brick building in the center. And I like to get a little specific with my prompts, but you honestly don't have to do much. You can just upload an image and go. And essentially what this is going to do is this is going to take us from having an image of this property to having a video of the property. And it's going to be a short video. But again, if you like this service, if it's something that you want to use a lot, you can upload all of your photos of a property, and you can have 10, 20 different video clips of a property. And as you'll see in a second, unless I jinx myself, it should happen in just under a minute here. And so these do come out in varying levels of quality. Sometimes it takes a couple tries, but let's just see what we have here. And so boom, there you have it. We've gone from having a still image of the property to Runway has essentially, taken different information from different angles of the property, just different information, some that it can see and some that it's just inferring. And it's putting together a really high quality orbiting video of this property. And it did it in under a minute.
Wow.
And so again, it just kind of comes down to, what are you doing for your marketing already? If you're already doing a lot of drone videography, a lot of drone photography, if that's a core competency of your company, you might look at this and say, okay, I don't really need that. That's not going to solve any problems for our company. But if you're not doing any sort of video marketing, if you're not doing any sort of, paid social media promotions where you put on a video post about your property and pay $100 to boost it and get it in front of thousands of people, all of a sudden you can start doing that. And all it takes is you literally uploading the images of your property and just telling Runway what you want to happen in the video. So I don't know about you, Logan, but I just think it's pretty incredible.
That's fascinating, Topher. Very, very cool. Also writing down all kinds of applications for this as well. Question for you. ChatGPT trying to keep up. Is this something that they have the ability to do in Sora through ChatGPT now, or have you tested
Yes.
that out?
So you can use it in Sora. Honestly, I don't really do it in Sora that much, just because I'm a fan of Runway
Okay.
ML. Sora is fine. It works. Honestly, it's fairly similar. I think they're still working out some of the bugs. The flip side of Sora is you only get a certain amount of videos you can create in Sora unless you sign up for the super duper $200 a month ChatGPT like Pro version. So I would say if you already have access to ChatGPT Plus, definitely go try out Sora, kind of get a feel for it. But if you want to be able to make a whole lot more videos by spending only $15 a month for something like Runway versus ramping up to $200 a month for ChatGPT Pro, then Runway is just a really, really good option.
Okay.
And there's a lot of other things that you can do with Runway. I don't necessarily do all of these things in Runway, but these are just a lot of the different kind of purpose-built frameworks that they've made for leveraging images and video. You can create images from text. Obviously, you can do that with a lot of tools now. You can create videos from other videos. They have different kinds of audio tools that you can use. So this is kind of, again, it's just general built tools versus purpose built tools. Runway was kind of built as a video marketing and imagery platform, whereas ChatGPT is very good. They're just kind of trying to do everything at once. And so things don't always work quite as well, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Awesome. So before we get off of video, I did want to bring up InVideo AI. Have you ever played around with InVideo before?
No, I have not.
Awesome. So I got to at least show it to you. I'll play a quick video here and then we can talk about it.
And these are just images that you had uploaded.
Exactly. Well, it's a combination of images and videos that I created with Runway ML.
Okay. Wow.
So I don't want to take up too much time and show you the entire video, but the question I always like to pose to people is just think about how long that video would have taken someone like me or someone from my team, anybody to make 2 years ago. Would have been a minimum of hours, maybe weeks. Depends on how much stuff you got going on, who you have to hire, what kind of vendors you need. And personally, for me, the answer is I probably just could not have done it. I did not have the software, didn't have the skills, didn't have the capability. But now you can make a video like this in under 10 minutes.
Wow.
And I think maybe we'll skip the tutorial on how to do this one because actually, if you sign up for the Chat CRE newsletter at chatcrenews.com, you'll immediately get an email with a link to a bunch of other tutorial videos. And one of them will be a 10-minute step-by-step tutorial video on specifically how to use InVideo AI to create these videos. But essentially, you just give it a prompt. You tell it, hey, I want to create a promotional video for this property. You can literally copy and paste your brochure text into the video, and then it's going to generate an AI generated script for the video. It's going to record an AI generated voiceover for the video. And then it's going to stitch together a promotional video for you in again, this does take a little bit of time, but maybe it takes 3 minutes. And so what it gives you right off the bat is pretty good. And depending on what you're using it for, it might already be fine just the way they give it to you on the first try. But it lets you go in and you can edit the script to say whatever you want. We could say, hey, this is no longer in Portland, Maine. It's in Portland, Oregon. And then if you apply these changes, again, it's going to re-record the AI voiceover. And then you can go into the imagery and you can replace any of these images, because again, at the beginning, it's going to give you stock images and videos, but you can upload all of these videos that you just created with Runway ML, and you just sub out the stock images for whatever images you have of your property. And again, now you're rocking and rolling with a customized property marketing video specifically for your property. And it only took you 10 minutes to build. And so again, kind of going back to, what are we actually using AI for at Aspire? Personally, we're not doing this at Aspire because when I got there, Brandon was already rocking and rolling with a bunch of different drone videographers. He's recording videos with himself in the video. We had another guy going out and taking drone images every day. There's just kind of a lot of videography already cooking.
Sure.
And so it wasn't necessarily a problem to solve for us. But again, if you're a brokerage that's not doing any sort of video, if you're not doing any very effective marketing in general, this is just such a layup to start doing custom tailored video marketing extremely quickly. And what I love about this is it doesn't need to be specific to marketing listings. I was just saying the other day on LinkedIn, I saw someone put up a image graphic about an industrial requirement that they had. They were trying to place a 50,000 square foot industrial user. I almost never see people effectively marketing their requirements other than just talking to people and sending emails. But what if you made a custom tailored video for every single requirement that you have, for every single tenant that you have, for every single buyer that you have? And all of a sudden, instead of just sending emails to these landlords that just get archived, deleted, all of a sudden you're texting them a video that's specifically saying, hey, this is the best nail salon you've ever seen. They have 4.5, star reviews on Yelp. They're going to be fantastic next to the subway in your retail center. Maybe if you're a tenant rep, you're not working with a nail salon. It just kind of depends on your business, but it's just such a fantastic way to cut through the noise and the clutter extremely quickly. And again, it's something that used to take hours and hours, maybe weeks. Now you can just do it in minutes.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, my goodness, this is incredible. I pride myself on at least knowing some of the tools out there, but man, this is just blowing my mind in regards to the capabilities. So yeah, this has been wonderful.
Oh, I appreciate it. So what do you think? Should we keep rocking and rolling with marketing? Is there any other kind of itch that you're looking to scratch right now, or should I just kind of keep on powering through?
Yeah, I think that we stay on the marketing kick here, and we'll have to probably do maybe episode 2 and 3 just on Topher and Logan and AI. But yeah, let's keep looking at some of the marketing videos or marketing resources, and maybe one of the things that I see a lot of is these and for example, working on a project, and we had a videographer, with the drone out there doing the videography, and then also, had the Matterport camera there because it's a multifamily property. So we're trying to do the walkthroughs and showcase some of that to give an out-of-state buyer that might be interested a look and a feel of what it might actually be there on site, right? And I'm trying to do that through drone and Matterport and things like that. But now my mind is like, wow, maybe I could have done all of that through some of these tools here.
Yeah, and again, it comes back to if it's not something you have to solve for, you don't necessarily have to solve for it. Again, like that's kind of how we're always thinking about things. There's so many bells and whistles, and obviously I'm showing you a lot of bells and whistles right now, but you don't necessarily have to use something just because it's there. It's if you already have your secret sauce for how you're putting together videography and you're already putting out a lot of that, maybe that's not what you need to solve using AI. Again, videography, it's kind of fun, it's kind of sexy, but again, sometimes the boring problems are the ones that can alleviate a lot of pain in your processes much faster than just saying, hey, I'm going to start doing AI videos, even though I'm already making videos. You can't use it for everything. You need to figure out, how is it actually going to enable me to get back more time, or remove some pain in my life, or enable you to do more. So again, I'm going to go into one more boring example, and then I'll kind of tee up what I think is maybe a little bit more of a sexy example.
Okay, excellent.
So let's see. I'm going to jump over to a custom GPT that I built. And I'm trying to think, hey, have you ever seen me post any content about custom GPTs?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, I guess for the benefit of people watching, if you know what Manus is, maybe you already know what a custom GPT is. But the Reader's Digest version is that custom GPTs, all you really have to know at this point is that they're a customized version of ChatGPT or Claude or Google Gemini or whatever LLM of choice you really like to use. And it's a custom version that you've pointed in a very specific direction. And so essentially what makes them powerful is these custom GPTs, they already know what you want them to do. So if you want to do something like, hey, use AI to summarize a lease agreement, you or the people that you're working with, they don't necessarily need to remember an 8-paragraph prompt that gets AI to, abstract their lease agreement exactly how they like it, with all the information that they like to see in it. That custom GPT that you've built already knows that you want it to do that. So you just get to the custom GPT, upload the lease, and then you go. But specifically, I'm gonna show you a custom GPT that I built. I like to show this to people because I think it solves a pain point that not even everyone really knows is a pain point. That is, no one seems to like to write real estate copy in commercial real estate. Administrative people tend to think this is the broker's job. They have to be doing that. They're responsible for that. All I have is a property address. How am I ever going to write this information? And the brokers are thinking, I'm supposed to be in the field doing deals. Why am I writing property copy all day? And so Real Estate Writer Pro is something that I built to just help people solve for that. And I think it works pretty well, because at this point, as I checked yesterday, it's been used over 3,460 times. So,
Wow.
It's certainly not an app that's going to make me a millionaire, but it's, kind of solving a problem in the space by, again, customizing these AI tools to work for you. And so just to show you how it works here, let me just pull up my prompt so I don't have to draft it from scratch. I'm just going to tell it, we're selling an investment property. Again, we're going to use 341 4th Street. Investment property located in the heart of Portland's Old Port, 11 units, 9 apartments, 2 retail units, give it the cap rate. And I'm also going to give it a photo. Let me just pull through and make sure I have that photo here. There we go. And so essentially what it's going to do is it's going to take, the handful of details that I gave it, and it's going to pull some additional insights from the photo. And then it's going to go search the internet, again, not as well as Perplexity, but it's going to put together, a pretty robust property marketing description for this property. And as you saw, put that together in literally just a couple of seconds. And so I think so. Again, a lot of people probably look at this and think, Topher, this is so boring. You're showing me the text output of ChatGPT. But again, using these AI tools, it doesn't have to be flashy. It just needs to save you time.
Yes.
So that you can use that time doing things that actually generate more money. So as a next step, I'm actually going to upload a brochure. Now I'm telling it, please draft the brochure based on template. Search the internet if you need more info. Don't mention people's names. The only reason I'm doing that is I just don't want to bring up anybody's names on this live video call. And so honestly, this is probably more information than I needed to give it, because again, this custom GPT already knows what I want it to do. It already knows that it's supposed to search the internet, but essentially what it's doing is it's taking this property description that it wrote, and now it's drafting the entire brochure from top to bottom using the exact kind of formatting, the exact style, the exact general length. Sorry, formatting is the wrong word. but the same components. Essentially, everything you'd be used to seeing in one of your brochures, if you upload it to this custom GPT, it's going to put together all the information in that format. And so you might be saying, okay, Topher, that was kind of a sparse brochure. It is. This particular brochure example was pretty sparse, but that's just what we typically use for marketing these kinds of properties, because obviously with investment properties, you get a whole offering memorandum afterwards, and there's a lot more detail, yada, 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 so on and so forth. So, essentially the whole idea is you can go from having a handful of bullet points about a property and maybe a photo of a property in your marketing collateral example, and you can have your entire brochure drafted from top to bottom in just a couple of seconds. But because we're running out of time here, I'm going to just fast forward a little bit and show you what the next step would be, and kind of finalizing what I like to call the commercial real estate marketing trifecta. So the last step would be going over to this tool called Gamma. Now, Logan, have you played with Gamma yet?
No, I have not. I'm writing notes down right now, though.
Gamma's awesome. Gamma is just fantastic. And the reason I love Gamma is as you can imagine, I get questions all the time about, hey, what kind of tool do I use for this? What do I use for that? And people would always ask me, how do I use AI to actually design my brochures? And up until maybe a year ago, a little less than a year ago, the answer was just, you can't. There's nothing really out there that's going to help you with that. Now that's all changed with Gamma. And so I'm going to speed through this, but I'm literally going to copy and paste the content that I just drafted using Real Estate Writer Pro. I'm going to tell it that I want a presentation. And as you can see here, this is the back-end prompt editor. There's a bunch of, doohickeys that you can kind of switch up here, but you honestly don't have to do much. I am going to give it directions for creating AI-generated images, just because I want to show you what it can do. So I'm going to tell it historic, let's say apartment buildings in Portland, Maine. And I'm just going to click next, and you can pick any of these themes here, but people always ask, can you customize your own theme so that you have your own custom branded colors? And yes, you can. So this is one that we do use at Aspire, but I'm actually just going to go shuffle a theme. Let's just pick one of these and we'll let it rip. And so this is literally going to go through. It's going to take all the information that you just wrote using Real Estate Writer Pro, and it's going to start designing marketing collateral specifically for the property that you're trying to market. And so I just think this is incredible. That happens so quickly. Look at all the information that you have here. These are AI generated images. Again, like that looks like Portland, Maine. It's not perfect. I think that, this street probably doesn't actually exist, but this is a very well-designed brochure, and it just put it together in under a minute. And so, something that I always like to bring up to people, again, it depends on what your process is. I show this to some folks, and maybe they're a one-man or a one-woman band. They're doing all their marketing themselves. They look at this and they think, this is amazing. Like, this is literally going to change my life. I hate making marketing collateral. I don't have time to do it. I'm trying to grow my business. All of a sudden, it's like they have a whole designer at their disposal that can just do this work for them now. And then there's some other folks, including us at Aspire. We don't use this for our brochures. We don't have to. Again, that wasn't a problem for us to solve. We have a designer. She's fantastic. She does a very, very good job. But we do a lot of brochures, and we are a pretty new company. And so there's a lot of marketing collateral design opportunities that we don't necessarily have yet. Maybe, I can remember an example of someone was going to meet a potential new broker the next day. And they said, oh, do we have hey, nice to meet you. This is why you should come work at Aspire document. We looked around and said, wow, we don't have that yet. We fired up Gamma. We had something put together in, under 2 minutes. Obviously, we reviewed the information. We changed a whole lot of things. We made it look a lot better than it did originally. But something that, our designer would have had to, stop the press on like 6 other projects that she was working on in order to jump on an urgent project. We were just able to crank it out, put together something that looked really awesome, and get it to that person that they were meeting with the next day. And it took almost no time. So it's a fantastic tool. Love showing it to people. There's a lot of people that walk away from my presentations and my courses that actually put this tool to use. And so I think it's a game changer.
Yeah, most definitely. Topher, we're out of time, man. This was
I know. Sorry.
absolutely phenomenal. I mean, holy cow. We barely even scratched the surface on marketing today. So many different applications on the marketing side, but one thing that I'm utilizing it on a regular basis for is really helping me with underwriting and bringing a piece of land and understanding site plans. So many different, I think, components to this and different ideas that we can game plan. But
Yeah.
we talked a little bit
We could
about
do a whole other session on that.
yeah, we talked a little bit about prospecting, and I wrote what you said down, opportunity hunting through deep research. I think there's a deep dive there to help people and brokers understand how they can utilize these tools to create new opportunities. But then also from an operational standpoint, we didn't touch on any automations or workflows or anything like that, or any underwriting capabilities that AI has. So we may have a full series with you and I, if you're open to it, just going through some more of these tools. Today was a brief overview of AI, your background, and a light touch into the marketing phase. But I can foresee many different episodes diving into these topics. Topher, was there any lasting words that you wanted to leave folks with? If somebody's intrigued by AI, but they may be a little intimidated, something like that, just where to get started or anything that's on your mind.
Yeah, no, 100%. You kind of touched on that. Hey, we didn't really go through like due diligence or automations, or agents. And that's partially by design, right?
Sure.
To some extent, you got to crawl before you walk. And so, again, if you're just getting started, you don't know where to start, you just got to, again, watch this presentation, look at a couple things that seemed like they might be able to help you with something. You can go check out my newsletter. There's at least 8 different editions covering a range of different tools that you can use for a lot of different things in commercial real estate. And just the first step is trying these things out, seeing what works for you and figuring out how to put it to work. The second step is moving on to something like a custom GPT, where you're customizing these things to work for you so that they're just easier to use. You don't have to worry about remembering a database of prompts. And then if you can effectively build a custom GPT and you ever want to build an agent or an automation, you're going to be way better at being able to do that if you were able to build a custom GPT, because you'll be really good at writing these instructions. So you don't have to hear about AI agents and think, I got to learn how to build AI agents tomorrow. It all starts with just start testing out some of these tools. Pick up the ones that you hear about. If you heard one today that you thought, that might be useful, just go try it. And if it doesn't work, tomorrow you can move on to the next one. And I guarantee you will find something.
Wonderful. Topher, first and foremost, thank you for the work that you're doing for the commercial real estate industry and bringing this information to the masses. Very excited. I've been following you for quite some time. Love all of the work that you're doing in that. And like I said, we hope to have you back on multiple other episodes. So Katie will be in touch on that front. If you have questions, Topher is very accessible, very posting, very active on LinkedIn, on Twitter. You can find his social media here on the screen. Definitely go check out chatcrenews.com, and we will be putting this up live. In the next 24 hours, it will be up on YouTube. That is one great thing about not necessarily AI. We do use AI to create the clips for these long form videos, but this is automatically going to be uploaded to our YouTube and will be on LinkedIn forever as well. So Topher, thanks again for being here, and thanks for the work that you're doing in the industry.
Thank you very much for having me. And one more quick tidbit. Just so everybody knows, if you do sign up for the newsletter at chatcrenews.com if you respond to that newsletter or any of the emails that you get from the newsletter, those do go directly to my inbox and I respond to every single one. So if for whatever reason, you're interested in some sort of AI consulting, or you're looking for a presentation for your team and you don't want to reach out to me on LinkedIn because you don't like to do that, you can always just sign up for the newsletter. And the second you get your welcome email, feel free to respond to that. And you can get in touch with me that way too.
Awesome. Thanks again, Topher. And thank you all for joining us for another episode, another edition of the Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Market Pulse. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for having me.